everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Act with Purpose podcast. My name is Adam Peddle. I'm the operations manager here at Act with Purpose, and here are my team members. To my left, I've got Adam Schupruck, the school director. Hello, Adam. Welcome.
Hey, Adam. Thank you. I'm super happy to be here.
Yeah, we're all obviously happy to be joining you in your own space.
Yes.
Thank you for letting me in. And then over here, we've got John Stevens, the founder and the head coach here at Act with Purpose. What's up, John?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm so looking forward to this. This is such a great opportunity to share information and let people kind of know about what we're doing and what we're up to. It's great.
Yeah, I agree, honestly. I mean, podcasts are becoming like a really popular thing nowadays, and it's really engaging. And honestly, I mean, we're an acting school, and a school means you gotta educate, so this is just another form of education that's not just taking classes. You can still learn a lot from reading books and listening to podcasts online, so.
It's true, and I think that a lot of my education came from conversations. And, before podcasts, actors got together and we just, shot the shit with one another. After class, before class, connected, networked, and found out about other things that were happening in the city wherever we were. And it's a great way to kind of stay up to date with what's happening in the market, what's happening in your local region, and what's happening on a more even regional or even global scale. So it's a great way to kind of stay connected and stay educated and in tune with what's happening.
Yeah. Let's inform everybody of what exactly that we do at Act with Purpose, and then we can move on to everything else, all the other conversations.
Sure. So Act with Purpose is a all-inclusive performing arts academy. So we specialize in television and film, but we also do stage productions. And I think the thing that makes us a little bit unique is that we're also a bit of a production company, and we're starting to produce films. We're starting to invest in films. And I think the thing that really makes us unique is the fact that we're giving back to the community. So each month, Act with Purpose not only holds acting classes and workshops and all those kinds of things that any other studio does, but the thing that I think makes us unique is that it's nice to know that where you're spending your money, you can feel good about it. And so each month we make donations to different members of our community that are contributing in different aspects. So we've had, of course, this is Pride Month, so we've been able to provide help to places that provide services to the LGBTQ2S plus communities, and also helping out with education. And in past months, we've also had the opportunity to donate to, of course, February is Black History Month. So we donated to several different Black organizations that specialize in television, film, creative arts, writing, you name it. And then in April, we also had some donations that went out to specific women's groups. Mm-hmm. We also have donated to specific Arab groups because it was Arab Heritage Month recently. And so I think that's one of the things that makes it unique is that you can feel good about where you're spending your money because you're not only taking acting classes, but you're really helping grow a community.
Yeah, I like that, and I honestly haven't heard, and if there are other people out there that like do that sort of work, I'd love to know about it, right? I'd love to know if other people are kind of taking the contributions they're earning, their income, to kind of put it over to other charities.
I've been really blessed in my life, and by no means did that happen on my own. I had other people who helped me. So it just seems right that, as I continue to grow and develop in my career, and as I have taken off in the past few months, holy cow, I did not expect this kind of growth.
You're busy now.
I'm crazy busy. I am working like 16-hour days. It's insane. But at the same time, I don't think I've ever been happier.
Yeah.
The things that are happening, and just to, throw accolades, it couldn't have happened without my team, which is you guys, and of course Keegan, and all the casting directors and agents who have supported me in this journey as well, and writers and producers and directors and so many other people along the lines. But the one thing I will say is that the more you continue to grow, the more it becomes, I think, a responsibility to nurture those that are coming up through the ranks. I think it's important to give back to the community that is growing you. It's your responsibility to help grow the community that's supporting you. So I think it's a really unique thing that people can feel good about. And so our tagline at Act with Purpose is train for a better future. It's not just your own future, but you're training for a better future for everyone. And I think that's the beauty in everything that we're doing here. So thank you guys for your help in kind of making this vision happen, because it wouldn't have happened without you guys, honestly.
I know Adam's been a big help for you as well. Like you're like the super assistant. Like that's what I see you as.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. Oh my God. And honestly, it's been really amazing to watch, everything to do with Act with Purpose, grow from the ground up. And I feel like it's really cool to have that perspective from, watching something when, it just starts out, right? And you see, starting with, getting, incorporated, right? And then you see, its students, starting to join in with classes. And then you see, obviously, word of mouth and, with everyone starting to talk about it with their friends. And then all of a sudden you start to see that something just clicks. And then that's when you know that something amazing was born.
Yeah.
And I really feel like with Act with Purpose, that is exactly what happened, because now we're at the point, where you guys both know we have like really amazing classes happening.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's awesome, right? To see that everyone is, they've taken such a, they have this attachment now where they really want to come to class. And I think that that's what makes it so special, is that it really is a community, right?
I mean, I was visiting your class last night, John, and it was so much fun. I mean, I got to jump in on the scene, so that was also fun. but like everyone there was it was so interesting because
Aren't
everyone
they
was there
great?
without using a pun. Like everyone was there for a purpose.
Yes.
That, you know what I mean?
And I think that's the thing that is like so incredible about the standard that we've set from the beginning. Like these actors are serious. They're not there to just pass time. They're not there just waiting for somebody else to make them a star or anything like that. They're there to do the work. And I think that's the biggest difference from any other studio that I've had the opportunity to train in is these people are coming in fully prepared, fully ready, fully engaged, and ready to take on their challenges to get them to the next level. And last night, I gotta tell you, there were so many moments where I got goosebumps. Like the things that people were doing and bringing to the table, and the conversations that were spinning out of that. It's been a long time since I've had the opportunity to experience that. And so for me, I feel like, and I think I told you this earlier, Adam, is that
wait, which one?
Who's waiting for
both of you. You are Adam Squared, as you've commonly become known as. You guys are an entity. But I think the thing that really stood out to me is just like, it feels like meeting an old friend. So I want to give a shout out to Marymount Manhattan College, because that was my training ground. It was the first school I went to out of high school. And then I went into the professional world and started, working. And then I went back to school at Cornish College of the Arts in Seattle. And I have to tell you that the training I received from both of those institutions were instrumental. And so for me to be able to finally use the things that I, trained for, to use all of the incredible voice training that I learned from Deanna, the incredible script analysis things that I was able to learn from Timothy, the incredible stage presence and everything else that I've been able to learn from so many different instructors across my career, including Eric Morris and Penny Templeton in New York. I'm finally able to use those things. Act with Purpose is really unique in that we've got our beginner actors, which is great, but we also have some really advanced actors that I'm able to work with, and a lot of those are coming from directly from agents sending them to me to work. And I've got to tell you, like, the ability to finally be able to stretch my muscles and my education and to use things that I've had in my toolbox, but I haven't had a chance to use those things. And in the scene study class that we've got going on Tuesday nights, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Like, we have some really great people.
Yeah.
People that are from the television and film industry who have booked, leading roles in series. And so when people come into that class, they're working alongside true professionals, seasoned professionals. And not only is that more challenging to the other people in class, it's more challenging to me.
Right.
And so for me to finally feel like, oh, I can't just phone it in. This is now something that I have to, really make a plan and really think about each individual actor and what their experiences have been, and to be able to push them into a direction that will help them in the future. That's the thing that's exciting to me is that not only am I pushing them, but truly my students are pushing me. And that's key.
Yeah. It is a challenge to, when you're dealing with someone at the higher level and lower level, like in terms of their experience, it is a bit of a challenge. But I do find that if I was a lower level experienced actor and I was with someone who's been around the industry, it almost feels like it's like a mentorship.
Yes.
Right? Where they can almost soak in what they've done and watch what they've done. Because that's another thing too. People, going up and performing a scene is definitely one thing. That's your craft. But also watching others do their craft in a good environment too, in a safe environment, can be pretty helpful.
Yeah. So last night we worked on blocking scenes. And so I let everyone kind of come in and just do their own thing in the beginning. And then we started to block it. And we started to block it with camera angles. You were filming, which was such a huge help. Thank you.
No problem.
And so teaching them the blocking, teaching them the camera angles, the camera jargon and all that sort of thing. It was a really intense moment where all of a sudden the scenes just evolved into a completely different animal. And you could see people changing their objectives, changing their tactics, changing their approach to the lines, to the scene, to the character even, just by simply changing the blocking and explaining to them that blocking isn't always the actor moving. Sometimes it's the camera moving. And understanding that's so key and it's crucial, especially when you're working on set. If you don't understand camera angles, if you don't understand the shot that is happening and what they're looking for and what the feel of it is, then you become a disservice to the set. So that's what I love about what we're doing here is that we're having the opportunity to train actors in a very real way, in almost a set-like space, to give them the opportunity to see what it's like to, me acting as director, you being the camera operator, and really creating this sense of a real set experience while they're doing their scenes. It's a real life experience. So now when they go to set, it's not so weird. It's not so new. And I think the thing that is so important is I'm so thankful that you were there to film, because now they're able to see their actual footage, see what they look like. Because we all think we're doing one thing when we're on set, and then you look at the dailies or you look at the footage, and you're like, oh wow, that's not what I thought I was doing at all, right? So if you are able to do that in a classroom setting where it's safe, now all of a sudden when you're on set, it's not a foreign concept, and you're so much more able to take direction from a director. Yeah. So I had so much fun last night.
And I found too, what's great about incorporating the camera, and even I was throwing down marks on the floor. Like, okay, so when we're doing our blocking, the crew will be watching the blocking with the actors and the director, and they're like, oh, they're not being told put down the mark. They're just throwing down the marks. Like as soon as you're going to stand here and do this thing, bang, mark, camera good, bang, that's a mark. So then the actors are expected to hit it. So when you're doing all this scene study stuff, and I love that we're incorporating the two. When you're doing scene study, sometimes an actor just studies the craft, which is great. But then they get on set, like you're saying, and it's like, wait, what? I'm here, and then I gotta stand here for that, and I gotta look this way. It's like there's a technique part that it's a relationship with the camera, and I think that's really important.
It is, and so many actors are either really great at the craft, but not so great at the business side, or they're really good at the business side, but they're not so great at the craft. Some people are really good at marketing themselves, but they haven't mastered the art of acting. Then you've got other people who are really great actors who have no idea how the industry works.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's one of the things that's kind of interesting about what we do is we bridge that gap. And I'm very, very proud of it. The other thing that we do that I think is really special is getting them to understand the technical sides, right? So understanding lighting, understanding sound, understanding their voice. So many actors are using their stage voice when they're doing their self-tapes. So many actors are using their stage voice when they're on set. And so getting them to understand just the difference between, working on set and working on a stage. And that's a huge, huge asset for what we're doing right now. So
I agree. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. I've always had a stage voice, so when I go on camera, I had this one little story where an audio guy on a set, I think it was The Other Kingdom, I show up, and this is a new guy. So they always change, like sometimes they change like crew members out, and then this is a new guy on set after like 2 weeks in, and he's like, hey, he's about to mic me up. And he's like, okay, so I heard you're the loud one. And he goes to his mixer and turns it all the way down. And I'm like, yeah. And it's unfortunate because knowing audio now, I went to school for media production. Knowing audio now, that's not good because you turn it all the way down. Well, now if you are quiet in a moment, you're not getting picked up.
I think you should mention where you went.
It was Ryerson. Now it's University Metropolitan, Toronto Metropolitan. I don't even know. I honestly, they had a graduation the other day and they forgot about me. But anyways, yeah, it was a great program. I'll say the program, Radio and Television Arts Media Production. It was an excellent program. It's ranked in the world top 15 best practical production school in the whole world, and it's because they focus not so much on the art, and I've been focusing on the art of what is a movie and all, and like acting, and that's great. But I learned so much about the actual production, angles, and audio, and lighting, and honestly, it's made me more aware and a better actor because of it. Right? From the things that we're talking about.
And I think, honestly, like, a big thing, too, just going back to what you guys were saying about the classes and everything, that it all starts with setting the expectation. And it's really about what you put into it and what you get out to it, because you were mentioning about with, in classes and everything. Because, like, personally, like, I remember back to when I was in acting classes, that you can really see the ones, the difference, right? Those who show up, they just want to be there just for the sake of socializing, right? And then you have the ones that actually want to do the work. And I found the one thing that personally that I was really disappointed with was that the ones that were there to socialize, they would really drown out the ones who wanted to do the work. And I personally would be one of the ones that would show up and I'd be like, all right, I want to make sure that, we get this done when we're doing scene work. And we would never get that done because the ones that would, not be serious about it, they would just be there and they would pretty much waste a lot of time. So I think the great thing is that all of the students, at Act with Purpose, they all have that intention going into it where they want to learn something and they want to really grow as actors. And I think that's one of the things that, you were talking about, with mentorship, right? The ones that were on set, even the ones that already have experience being on set and everything, right? They come to class, they have these things, these lessons they've learned that they could pass on to other students. And I've noticed that it's great for learning, different skills in the industry by having those people there to mentor other people, in the class, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really cool to see just how the growth of the students.
I want to flip the subject a little bit. Tell me, John, a little bit about this film program that we had going on. We were all involved with it in some way or another.
I am so proud of it. It is, I've wanted to do a different kind of training program. I've been training actors for a really long time, and the problem that I found is that when you're training people, especially new actors that have never been on set, what it's like to be on set, by the time you train them, all the jargon, the lingo, everything else that you need to know to be on set, the procedures, the protocols, by the time they actually get on set, they forget,
Mm-hmm.
So I know for myself, I've learned a lot about learning styles. And so, which is Harry Styles' other brother. Learning styles. So I am the king of dad jokes.
Too many.
But too many.
It's all good.
But no, learning styles are really important because I think that in order for you to be a successful actor, you have to know how you learn. And I know for myself that a lot of artistic people do not learn in the typical way. And so artistic people need more of a experience, and that's what sticks with them. If you're an artist, very rarely are you an audible learner. You're not somebody who just can listen to a lecture and like have everything sink in. Most of the time, artistic people need to have some sort of an involvement, a project, something that they're doing where it sinks in. So the fact that we're doing this short film program, we start from like literally from start to finish with an entire film production, training them on everything from memorizing their lines, character development, costuming, everything you need to know in terms of script analysis, everything you need to know in terms of the protocols on set, then making them use all of that information actually on set, creating a short film. The short film that we just finished, Can't Escape Myself, I could not be more proud of the actors who were involved and the entire team. What they walked away from with that experience was so different from any other quote unquote normal acting class. They were able to walk away with, for the same amount of money that you would spend for a demo reel, you can be in a short film, have classes on how that entire process works. You're learning not only acting, but filmmaking, truly.
Right. And that's what we're talking about. It's very, very important.
Absolutely. You have to be like, look, I'm a dancer, an actor, a singer, a model, a director. I've done a million different things, right? And now I'm moving into producing. And I've got to tell you that the one thing that I feel very fortunate about is that I've had all those experiences and I've never had to have a job outside of that. So I've always been able to stick within that. When I wasn't directing, I was producing. When I wasn't doing that, I was choreographing. When I wasn't doing that, I was dancing. When I wasn't doing that, I was singing. When I wasn't doing that, I was acting. When I wasn't doing that, I was teaching. I've always been in the arts. And so I think teaching people that adaptability and that way of just staying focused on the arts, but just finding some way to stay connected to it is so important. And this program really is an exemplary example of that. It's the opportunity to create a character, be in a short film, get an IMDb credit, which is so important. I know that a lot of people think that IMDb is not important, but I do think that it has some standing. Casting does see it. It does pop up when you Google that actor. And it does provide some insight into their experience and experiences and what their voice is and what their abilities are. So I find it really, really valuable, and it's such a practical way to learn acting. Rather than doing just scene study, now you're doing the scene, you're studying the scene, you're rehearsing the scene, but it's being filmed, and it's something that's being entered into film festivals. So that's the other thing is, like, beyond the IMDb credit, the fact that this film is going to be entered into film festivals and is going to potentially, earn some accolades, that also has its own value in just the visibility and exposure and everything else.
And when you talked about you have the ability to rehearse, and I've done a lot of audition training in my past, and audition training is absolutely crucial. Like, you need to know how to, I just got this script for the first time and I got to perform this in 2 days and book a role. Like, how do I present myself the best? But this is different, where if you really want to get into the craft of things, once you book the role, okay, now how do I prepare for the actual role? This is another way to do it. And rehearsal's so crucial because in its 9 weeks that you do this program, from 7-8 weeks before the actual filming, you're rehearsing, you're with your scene partner, and you're studying and you're changing it, you're growing it and you're also working with the crew to do that, it's fantastic. And sometimes scripts don't stay the same, right? People, maybe some people who are not too familiar with the industry think this is the script, this is it. Well, guess what? You can prepare a script for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then the day before, guess what? It's raining outside. We're doing this inside now, whole new scene.
Yes.
And you gotta go.
Absolutely. And you know what? One thing that I think was so great about this program, and I know Adam, you can relate with this too, because we were both, fortunate enough to play a really significant role on a series.
Yeah.
Is that there really is a lot of things to, take note of when you're on set, like lingo they use, right? Like as far as, even like blocking out scenes, being able to, really do that character development, really being able to take, from the very start, the entirety of like with the short film, being able to play a character and just have that growth, right? And I think that the great thing was all of these actors, they had a chance to play a character that was written around them. Mm-hmm. And now they have this, and like John mentioned, further demo reel. And it's really cool because they're not going to get this experience anywhere else. It's such a new, idea, right? That no one's really tapped into this before.
Right.
And it was really successful in the first time through.
So, in honor of Pride Month, I felt like we should talk about this because it's really important that we have proper representation in the film industry. And I know, Adam, you were talking to me a lot about something that's really important to you. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
Absolutely. So I think one of the most important things, going into Pride Month is that we talk about, with actors, specifically because, well, for myself, I have experience in this as being a actor who happens to be trans. And the great thing is I'm starting to notice that slowly I'm able to get opportunities to play cis male roles, which is just another word for saying, a male role that is not, classified as being a trans male role. And I think that it's really important to talk about how in the industry right now, there's such a stigma saying that trans actors can only play trans roles. And I've been put into that situation where up until this point, I've really only been going for trans roles. And I think that it's so refreshing to know that slowly but surely we are getting to the point where, trans actors are having the opportunity to play all roles. But it is something where I feel like, just in general, people do need to know that we do want to be sent out for all roles because trans males are just all we are is we are male. That's what the reason behind, the word trans, right?
But also I feel like that whole concept is very systemic, right? So it starts with writers, producers, directors, and casting directors, and agents. So agents have to look beyond like, oh, they're looking for a trans role. Okay, this person. But why are you not looking at any other male role and submitting a trans male person? Because it's so... and especially if you are an agent who is a member of the LGBTQ community,
yes,
there's no excuse for you not to understand this. This is a part of your community.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing, too, is I feel like agents, need to have that education where they need to know that trans males are not considered, for example, intersex. They cannot be submitted for intersex roles. They can't be, if there is a trans male, they can't be submitted for a trans female role. There's
so understanding F to M, M to F.
Absolutely.
And also understanding non-binary.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There is a huge difference. And I think what's alarming is the fact that there are so many agents that are members of the LGBTQ community that don't even know. Exactly. And it's like, come on. Like this is your community. You have no excuse. You cannot go out and spend more time worrying about what party you're going to and which DJ you're going to go support during Pride if you can't figure out what the different pronouns and what the different, identifications are. If you're spending more time figuring out what party you're going to, shame on you. Like, that's not what Pride is about. And I just want to hit on this for a second because this is such a hot point for me.
All right, let's go.
Right, here we go.
All right. So the first Pride march I went to was not about pride. The pride I went to was in Seattle, Washington. And the first one I went to was a march. And there's a difference between a march and a Pride Month and a celebration. And everything.
Parade.
It's become commercial.
Right.
And there's no way around that. Look, the first Pride I went to was a march of 240 caskets being marched down Broadway in Seattle, Washington. And that was the march. It was to make a point about the deaths that were happening because of AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a celebration. It was not commercialized. It was not about which DJ you were going to or which designer drug you were taking. And unfortunately, it's really taken a very commercial and party kind of mode. And it's not something to be a party about. We can't celebrate until we've won. And right now, we're still fighting for our rights. We're still fighting for representation. Mm-hmm. We're still fighting for proper education about who we are and what we are, and to be represented in history, period. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we're having these parties and celebrations is really disrespectful to the overall mission of what Pride is.
Right.
And I have an issue with that.
There should be some form of history behind it too, right?
And
Absolutely.
the disrespect that has been given to drag queens. Drag queens are the ones who started the revolution back in Stonewall. It was the drag queens that stood up to the police. It was the drag queens who defended the gay men. And to see gay men say, oh, drag queens, oh, this, oh, that, it's very disheartening because it's a clear misunderstanding of true history. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to get back to that. And I think that's why, speaking of podcasts, I mean, this is one, there's so many great podcasts celebrating gay history, and they really dive into all of this. Yeah. And I think the issue I have is that the younger generation doesn't understand what the 80s and 90s really were like.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, too, the biggest thing I'm noticing is it's really insane to think about the amount of times, for example, I've expressed to, a few people, in the industry as well, who are, part of the community. And I've told them about how I wanted to do drag, and I've been told the same thing several times where they told me, oh no, don't do that, you shouldn't do that. And it's really just because they were so focused on saying like that they were just already really hung up on the fact that I'm trans, that it almost seemed like they didn't accept that, and it hurt them in their own way to watch me say that I wanted to be my true self and express myself, to the fact where it bugged them, and I say that in a very light way. It did more than bug them. It almost ruined their day to hear that I was happy being myself and wanted to express myself. Mm-hmm. And also, I want to make another comment going back to with just agents having people, anyone who's trans on their roster. They need to learn to be respectful. An agent can't be calling up their client and be asking them what surgeries they've had, what they have in their pants. That's not ethical. It's not right. And I think it needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm. If you wouldn't do it to a straight male, hey, what's in your pants? If you wouldn't do that to a woman, hey, what's your bra size? Mm-hmm. Then why are we allowed to do that to a trans person?
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. We are objectifying. Yeah. It's so inappropriate.
Yeah. It really is.
And it's disgusting.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to jump on a note said earlier. You talk about the systemic kind of going all the way to the top, where it's the directors, producers, writers who are writing a lot of scenes, a lot of movies, television shows. And maybe it's just my perspective. Maybe there's good TV shows, movies out there that do this, but it always just feels that they just portray, it's like, oh, this is the trans male journey, like, oh, it's about the transition being male. Why can't there be a trans man character that's just a regular person? that's just doing regular stuff. It always has to be about their
It's-
transition, which is at the time it was called.
Yeah, I mean
Well, you know.
that those stories are important, but at
Yeah.
the same time, it doesn't always have to be
Doesn't always
the
have to be.
focus.
Right.
Well, exactly.
And that I think that's a really important message. Is it's not about normalizing, because it's not normal. It is different. And so we have to acknowledge the fact that it is a different experience to be trans. To just say we can't just say, oh, it's normal, because not because we're saying a judgment on it, but because it is different. And so we have to acknowledge the difference,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. And one thought onto that as well too is that I know that both of you are going to know where I'm coming from with this, because just like personally speaking, I go through my everyday life and I barely think about the fact that I'm trans, because no one around me makes a big deal about it. So automatically I'm going into the industry, speaking of, just going into auditions and everything, and I'm already wanting to, just be seen as, any other male. And I think it just needs to, be, normalized in a way, just accepted, where trans males can go into the same auditions as cis males and not be looked at in any different of a way or anything, and just be considered any other male on an agent's roster. There shouldn't be that, stigma, or even roles in, like, particular, right, like we were talking about with, having those specific roles, right, where it's talking about the stories of trans people in general. I could personally say on this that I was fortunate enough to be, two of the roles I've ended up playing. They were, for the first one, Why the Last Man, the character that I played just so happened to be trans. It was the best friend of the lead character, and we were all trans, and we were this big group of people traveling across the world after the apocalypse.
Right.
And
Right.
it just so happened to be a great representation of,
Cool.
just anyone who's trans.
Right.
And Paranormal Night Shift, where it just so happened that the gas station clerk was trans.
Yeah.
These are all, storylines I feel like writers should focus more on. Just the person happens to be trans. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be the stories written around, their struggles and everything. That's great, but we should focus more on making it.
Yeah,
mainstream.
totally not discounting that. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it doesn't have to be the focus.
Give me the backstory.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, and even not even backstory. Maybe it's just a fact.
It's just there.
It's just there.
Right.
And I think that's like, to circle back to Act on Ability, the foundation that we're all a part of. Act on Ability is fighting for representation for persons with disabilities. And it's the same exact fight. So I feel like there's a very real parallel between what you're saying
Yeah.
and what Act on Ability is a part of, and that's what you're a big supporter of, so I appreciate that. Act on Ability is trying to fight for representation of persons with disabilities in the same fashion. It doesn't have to be a storyline. Just because the mom happens to have epilepsy or blind or whatever it is, right? It doesn't have to be a part of the storyline. It's just they're there.
Yeah.
Because I feel like society and television and film, as a reflection of that, a reflection of society, we hide persons with disabilities. We hide persons who are trans. We hide persons in the LGBTQ2S+ community. And it's such a disadvantage because, look, in the end, film is all about storytelling. We're here to tell stories. And what is a better story to tell than someone who has gone through hell and back
Absolutely.
to be their true, authentic selves, right?
100%.
Honestly, and one thing too is a big reason why I really love, all the work with AOA and everything is because, like, speaking of, like, so growing up, like, I've always had a calcium and thyroid deficiency. So the biggest thing that I've noticed is there's a very big stigma in the industry right now where casting directors, producers in general, they're looking for a very specific type of actor going into any production. It's very rare that you find, opportunities for, just anyone who's considered different to be put into those mainstream roles. And I think it really started to click with me that the moment I started to really change in my transition, and I started to, get more, in shape. The endocrine, the thyroid issue never became a problem. I started to be viewed differently in the industry. I don't think that's right. I think that people shouldn't have to, be put in a specific box just to be noticed. So the fact that there's, rules for anyone who has, the work being put out there, right, for anyone who has a, visible or even not visible disability to still have a platform in the industry. So it's really important, and I love the work with AOA for that reason.
In the end, we're all storytellers. Filmmakers, actors, producers, writers, directors. We're all storytellers. If you want to look at really good stories, look at someone who's been through something. And who better to tell that story than someone who has a disability? And that's why I give such kudos to, there's a filmmaker, his name is Chris Power, and he hired Unstoppable Tracy Schmidt, who is just fantastic. Oh my gosh, right? She's powerhouse.
I miss her. I want to see her.
I know, right? Oh, we're going to have her on for sure.
Great.
But he hired her to just play the mother of the bride. It wasn't a plot line. It wasn't a thing. It was just, you're the mom who happens to have a disability.
Yeah.
It's not the storyline. It's not the focus. It's just giving light, including persons with disabilities. And that's the thing is, like, it's so unfortunate that we hide our family members, our friends, our colleagues, the people we work with, the people who we value. We put them in the corner because they have something different about them. Whether it's being trans, having a disability, being gay, being a different color, having an accent, whatever it is, like, it's so wrong. Like, look, it's all a part of life.
Right.
And that is the true essence of storytelling is being authentic and inclusion. I mean, the best stories, Aladdin isn't about, mom and pop in Iowa,
Yeah.
Like, come on. The best stories are ones that we don't necessarily understand fully because we relate to them. It's because they're different. So why can't we embrace being different?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree.
It's like we need to embrace it, and we have to stop giving people the idea that they need to shame themselves for it, right? Because I think the, similarity between, with people, anyone having a disability and, for example, also with anyone who's trans, in the community in general, is we're always taught that we need to feel shame for those things. And I think that I started to feel that from a very young age, is people would always, the way they would talk about anything in general to do with having a disability, to, anything with sexuality, with gender, is that if you don't fit into the norm of society, that you are considered different in some way or shape or form, that you have to, look at yourself and feel like ashamed of who you are. And I think that we need to start, celebrating that and not feeling shame for it, right?
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. Have you ever been made to feel like being trans is a disability?
Oh, 100%, 1,000,000%, because I noticed that I would always be told, oh, you're not going to be able to do this in your life because you're trans. You're not going to be able to have kids in the same way. You're not going to be able to, people are going to look at you differently. It's going to be a burden in your life. So I started to look at being trans as almost like a big wall that was put up in front of me. I would start to think, I can't do this because I'm trans. I'm never going to have the same career as someone who's not in that category. Not to mention the fact where I would always be told from when I first came out, people would say, okay, you can only be trans or you can be gay. You can't be both. And if you act a certain way, people are going to assume things about you, and it's only going to be like really negative. It's gonna, not be. It's going to hurt you in the long run.
Yeah.
So I started to change things about myself. I tried to act over masculine. I tried to compensate for who I really was, and I feel like really now I'm starting to come back to who I really am because I have a great support system around me, and I'm able to, which is you guys.
Yeah.
But it's,
well, that's really important too,
yeah.
because there are people out there who don't have a strong support system, and they're kind of just improvising their way through it, and it's and it could be really, like what you're saying is could be very destructive for someone's mental health.
I never wanted to feel ashamed that I'm trans, anymore. I wanted to use it. Like, for example, whenever I'm coaching kids, for acting class, I feel so honored that kids are, like, that they're coming up to me and they feel, really, proud to come out to me. And
Yeah.
So we got to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you had an experience this week,
I did.
and we don't need to say names, but tell us about what happened.
Absolutely.
Because it's monumental, and I think it's very special.
Honestly, you know what though? It kind of felt like really full circle what happened, because I remember it was kind of a long time ago, but I ended up coming to you and telling you about that, and you were the first person that knew. And
We went for a long walk,
yeah,
and you told me about your journey.
yeah. And I went into a acting class this past week to go and help another coach finish the class off. And it just so happened that I got put in a breakout room with this one kid that I taught probably about 2 times before in that same week.
Wow.
And I couldn't put my finger on it, but for some reason, he had this connection where he was staying after class. He always, like, he wanted to stay 5 minutes after the class to just talk to me, and I felt like, okay, he's trying to get close to me, he's trying to, like, have that connection.
Right.
And I never knew why. And then it just clicked on Friday. I was put in a breakout room with him again, and all of a sudden when everyone left, he was like, okay, I need to tell you something at the end of class. So I was like, okay, what could it be? So his mom ends up coming in the frame after too. He's like, listen, he's like, he's only 12 years old right now. He's like, I'm trans. I'm going through, he's like, I'm going to be starting, hormone blockers and everything. But he said, I just felt like I couldn't tell anyone. He's like, it was something I was just trying to hide, but he's like, you're, one of my favorite coaches, and I feel really comfortable around you. And I was crying the other day when I didn't go in your breakout room. So I was automatically...
How did that make you feel?
I told him right away, well, for starters, I felt like I was about to cry when he told me, because I was kind of having a moment where, like, everything just kind of froze. And because I told him, I was like, I'm a trans guy too. And
Right.
it's like his eyes...
And apparently they didn't know.
They didn't
Wow.
know. They didn't know.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, the mom just slides into the frame, and I'm like, oh, hi. I'm just like, hi.
And you know what? This is a nice way to kind of wrap this up.
Yeah.
Is like, acting it's more than just TV, film, being on screen. Like that's fun, but it's the people.
It's the gravy, yeah.
It's the people that you're going in the room with that make you feel comfortable, and it's an accepting place, like you're saying, and you could feel like you can be open and be who you are, and test the waters, especially if you're not sure who you are. That's a great place to test who you are, feel the waters, and be accepted, right?
Yeah. So I just want to say congratulations to you, Adam Shupruk, because the fact that somebody felt comfortable sharing their personal experience isn't by accident. It's because they felt a connection. And that's the thing, is aren't we all looking for a way to connect? Are we all looking for a way to engage? And I've used that word engage over and over again because it is really true. We're trying to re-engage after COVID, after everything. I mean, it's not even just COVID. It's just, I think even in the industry, we're trying to re-engage with one another. So it's very powerful. Congratulations.
Thank you guys. Thank you. This has been fun.
Yeah.
I really
It
like
has
this.
been fun.
This is good.
I love it.
We gotta do it again.
We're definitely gonna do it again.